What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I thought this would be a fun video to do, kind of necessary, and it's a good time to do it because we just had a ridiculous trade, and I would wager to say we're going to have two more. I think Dame will finally be signed and traded. Otherwise, they would be doing something with Portland. So maybe they think he's going to end up on Boston. I've heard that being floated around. And obviously, we just had the second successful 2K trade for the Suns. I brought this up when they traded for Durant. So this is how people need to view these trades, okay? And let's just look at it from a simplistic view. First off, the Nets had Dinwiddie. He was performing. They decided they needed to get rid of him. So he goes. They have Kyrie. Doesn't get it done. So now they got to trade Kyrie. Now, they could trade him to a plethora of areas. But they decide, of all the areas, they need to trade him to Dallas, where they're going to get Dinwiddie back, DFS, who's just terrible. And the biggest draw of that trade was, I forget the third guy, but he was basically, I would say, a bigger player than DFS. I think it was like a three-point shooter, or maybe it was a pick or something. But either way, Dinwiddie they already had. Then they turn around, and now they have some role players, so they trade away their one star for like four more role players. And I brought this up. If somebody attempted this trade in 2K, Kevin Durant for Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, and a first-round pick, I think, they said it was 4. And of course, it's funny because you always see all these trades like 4 first-round picks, but then if you watch the drafts, you never really see them come to fruition. But anyway, the trade would be denied. And Bradley Beal for Shamet, I think Chris Paul was involved, that would also be denied. So it's pretty interesting that people don't even question the legitimacy of these trades. But I wanted to do this video, as the title suggests, because I think we can now rule out, honestly, half of the West. And again, we're not always going to be perfect, but one thing we did really good last year, we basically nailed every playoff team. The only one, again, I had the Kings not making it. I had Portland getting in the play-in. I had the Lakers missing the play-in. So, I missed a team that went pretty far. And we finished 8 out of the 10. In the East, we did even better. The only literal miss we had was I had the Raptors being flipped out they both made the play-in. But I thought the Bulls would advance. But it was, just really good on each. Oh, and I had the Wizards. I had the Wizards getting in instead of, maybe it was the Raptors. I think it was the Wizards instead of the Raptors. So we finished 9 out of 10. So before the season, and again, a lot of that was because of trades that I saw. I thought that they were going to do something with some of these teams. The Knicks were one of them. Not a lot of people had the Knicks doing well. And I thought they had exactly what they were, Mitch Robinson, Barrett, Randall. They brought in JB. To me, it made sense they were going to have a good year. So anyway, I want to go into this year. I think right off the bat, Nuggets can be eliminated, okay? I really think they can be eliminated because I think there's a difference between a dynasty and a one-off. This, to me, was a one-off. Malone's been coaching a very long time. Jokic, as people suggest, might not be playing too long. And I just don't see him having a Jordan-like stretch where it's like 2-3 years he was unstoppable. I don't think they want to do that with anybody. So I ruled out Denver immediately. Boston, Milwaukee, this is going to be more on the West, but I'm not ruling either of those teams out. To me, either of these teams were appealing. Boston has a window, and this would be, the time to get in there. The East is probably going to win this year. So giving Tatum his first or really establishing Giannis, definitely the way to go. Somebody brought up the prospect that, Milwaukee, they basically did what they're going to do. They're surprised Giannis even got the one, and they could see Giannis moving. I think that's definitely a possibility. So I'm not as hot on the Bucks as I was, but I'll just say they're a perennial safe team, kind of like the Warriors used to be. Suns, rule them right out. There's no way. Guarantees don't mean much, but I will guarantee this team does not get to the finals. They might give them a push because to them it's no different if they get knocked out in the conference finals or the finals. we might see that Warriors-Suns matchup that I kept talking about. Now, especially because we're going to have Poole, who's a little more chippy. They don't have Dre, obviously, but the real rivalry was Booker and Clay. And then, obviously, you're going to have Steph and Durant. You have that history. So, I think they're still booking that. But the Suns and the Warriors, I have neither of those teams going to the finals. The reason I don't have the Warriors going is because I don't think they're going to say to Steph, or, of Steph, hey, now he's better than LeBron. I don't think they're going to even entertain that argument. That's why LeBron has his amount. They don't want him to be in that GOAT conversation with Jordan, which he kind of is anyway. I don't think they're going to do it with Steph. So I don't have him winning another one. My last channel that got shut down, my first video, went into why I thought that was the Warriors send-off. And then we have the Lakers. Now, the Lakers are interesting because I said for 3 years in a row, this team's not winning. This was, last year, this year, and then going into next year, they're not winning. They will win when Bronny debuts. That being said, if there's a year that the Lakers went, it might be this year. Because so many people are not going to be on them. They don't look that impressive now, do they? You look over, Dallas is going to get somebody like a Karl Anthony Towns. They're going to do a 2K trade. Or you're just going to see somehow Kyrie and Luka playing great together. But there's a reason Dallas. So Dallas is 18-1. They were 6-1 on my book. So something tells me that people have an idea that something might happen with Dallas. But back to the Lakers, I just don't think many people are, even with Davis, Reeves, I don't think they're going to keep Reeves. They're acting like they are. Even if they get somebody, I think people are seeing all the teams as super teams right now. They're looking at how good the Nuggets just played with Joker. I don't see people having the Lakers too much ahead of the Nuggets. I don't see them having them ahead of Phoenix when you got their 5 starters are probably, if you go on paper, the best 5 starters maybe in the history of the league. If you really think about it, unless we go like pre-70s, you're talking Cameron Payne, who I think is going to have a good year. I think he's going to, him and JP, they kind of brought up at the same time. And, of course, I think they're going to be rivals against each other. So, him, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, they're going to have Beal. I think they're going to have Booker playing the 3 because I looked at the Phoenix Suns website and they had their official lineup. And then it's Ayton and I think Craig might start. But it's just insane. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Payne, Booker, Beal, Durant, Ayton. So, it's pretty insane. And that's why everyone's going to be on Phoenix. But again, that being said, they're going to push the depth and how this team has no depth, which is kind of stupid because you only have 12 guys that typically suit up in a night, okay? They already have Craig and Damian Lee, and they have Jack Landale. So they're competent backups. You're talking about them signing 2 or 3 old guys from free agency, like the Heat, well, they traded for, but they got Kevin Love, or you see PJ Tucker, such an important player. That's all they need is 2 guys like that and then like a young guy that has a lot of hustle. But they're trying to spin it like, oh, the Suns are in such a corner now. This isn't the NFL. It's not like they got a great quarterback, 2 great receivers, and the rest of their team's weak. So it's just one of those things where it's unrealistic to believe. Again, these guys could just get a couple competent backups. They already have essentially a backup for each position and players that can play 2 at a time. But the narrative for the Suns all year is going to be that they don't have depth. Warriors' narrative, I think, is going to be they lost their soul with Draymond. And I actually think where he ends up, they might win. Because he's giving me Rodman kind of vibes. And I think they want to establish him as one of the better players of this era. Clay is obviously established because he's hit so many clutch shots. Steph's established as the leader. Durant got established. Even Iguodala got established. I think Dre, I think they tell him to do all of his antics. I think wherever he goes, it might be a situation where it's like a Robert Horry, a Rodman, just a guy who it completes a team. So it'll be interesting. I don't think the Lakers will get him, but I could see him going to the Clippers maybe. I could see him going to Dallas. Dallas would make a lot of sense. I mean, that would be the perfect fit. If the league was real, Cuban would have been on the phone already. you can get, not only do you get Dre, but then you have Kyrie to leverage, and then you can get like Austin Reeves and Edwards or something like that. They'd be a damn good team, and maybe that's why Vegas had them where they did. They've been moving back and forth. Grizzlies eliminated because they're not going to pay Ja off. There's no way they're going to pay Ja or give him anything, until a couple years from now. Luka's going to get his first. So, of these teams in the West, I can say, at least all these teams in the top 10, whatever, Dallas, Clippers, and Lakers are really the only ones that I'm buying right now. I'm not buying any of the other teams. I guess you could argue like Sacramento, or a team like that, but I'm not buying the Suns at all, the Warriors at all. Clippers, I'm just barely buying. If they get Chris Paul, then they probably won't win. I have a feeling he's just never going to get his ring. But you still have to think of them. And again, I think they might give Russell one. Although there's that, long told tale that a player with number 0 in the NBA is never going to get a ring. It's basically like a sign. But I think Tatum's going to get one, so I don't buy too much into that. But yeah, I think it's pretty good when we can, at least on the Western Conference side, get out everyone that's not 10-1 or better. And I just don't see Boston, Denver, well, the top 3, or Golden State doing it. I think the best team that, the best first team I see on the West is the Lakers. And I really think it'll be next year. But don't forget, they could go and lose this year. They might go back-to-back years. You never know. LeBron's been there half his career. So he's due to get back there. So early predictions, I could see something like Philadelphia, Los Angeles. I know I had Philly last year, and it was mostly because of Doc. But the reason I like them again is I don't think the Heat are going back. That Jimmy story, they basically used an entire career, and they just threw it into one season there with Jimmy. And there's just no way in hell he's ever going to be anything but a red herring, whatever you want to call him. He's going to have his mystique about him, but that's going to be about it. But as far as the Sixers go, it is interesting because, a lot of times you bring in a new coach and things will change. Happened with the Cavs, happened with Warriors. And it's also a situation where they really shouldn't be getting these odds. There's a good chance they're going to lose Harden. And I guess with that, they would, it'd be some kind of trade. But there's still no guarantee. So you got Embiid, and, Maxi's playing well, but you might be losing Harden. I really don't understand why the books are sold on the Sixers way ahead of the Knicks even. Where you can argue the Knicks they know they're going to have, a way more cohesive unit going into the playoffs than the Sixers. So I could see the Knicks having an off year considering where they are. You see how low they are. I just feel like they should be higher if Vegas expected them to repeat this year. But again, even if they repeated this year, they're not getting close to the finals. But they did better than people thought. So yeah, early on, Lakers, Sixers, a lot of symbolism there, obviously. 2 big teams. And I think it makes sense. I really do. I think both sides make sense. My backup would be the Mavericks for sure. Just because I think they want to give, again, I think they want to have the international appeal. That's another reason I like the Sixers. You would have, again, LeBron versus Embiid, obviously, Canadian. So it's very interesting. This year was Jimmy versus Jokic, and, we had Giannis versus Chris Paul. So I'm noticing a lot of that, so I think they might continue that. And it dates back to 2019, really, with the Raptors winning. It's not really a bunch of international players, but it's still an international team. So it's interesting, in my opinion. So I think going forward, we can expect a lot of that. And that's why I have the Warriors ruled out, because it's not just because they don't have international players. It's compounded with some other things. But yeah, I like the Sixers. I think Embiid, they're really talking about him differently than Giannis. I think Giannis might start looking average, especially with the way they made Jokic look. They really can't make Giannis look that much better, in my opinion. Like, he's already dominant, and he's borderline unstoppable. But he's really, I think he's going to be relegated to like an Amari Stoudemire pretty soon. Only Stoudemire had a better shot, just because they're going to say, oh, he's a big man, he's getting older. He can't go like he used to. So I'm not really hot on Milwaukee. of the Eastern teams. If Philly didn't go, I think it could be Boston's year again. So it might be a little boring on the East, seeing the same teams going back there. But I really do see I could see Sixers Celtics in a grudge match again. It does sell tickets, and people do watch it. And I think the Sixers team might be a little different, but it'll be more explainable as to why they can win a championship. So, yeah, again, nothing crazy. I just thought I would, the rest of these teams, I think will make the playoffs, but I don't see them making the Cavaliers. I don't see it. Pelicans, I don't see it. None of these teams, they might do something sneaky with San Antonio, make them go and, make a run because they really want to push Wemby. But again, I don't have them winning the finals or going to the championship. So I just tried to, again, use the WWE logic that I know, and with the Lions. And both these teams fall within the value teams that usually go. Both are 14-1, nothing crazy. They usually don't pay out. Again, they're not going to pay out everyone hammering the Suns at 6-1. I just don't see it. And then the Warriors, again, to me, they had their send-off. So, yeah, if you're a Lakers fan, this could be your year. I personally think they're not going to win it until, when Bronny debuts. I think LeBron and Bronny will be the first father-son champ in history. They're never going to pass up an opportunity like that, and they're never going to have another opportunity like that. So I think they'll definitely do something along those lines. So this year, I think the East wins it. And, yeah, I like Philly. I do. I like Philly. And I still doesn't mean Los Angeles can't go. Or we get Philly versus Luka, Embiid versus Luka. I don't know if they're going to, again, they want to make the international appeal hit anyway, so having two international guys might work. But based off the trends I've noticed, it seems like it's an American versus an international guy. So I think if we were going to get a matchup, it would be Sixers-Lakers, or we would get like Dallas-Boston. Makes more sense to me. That would be a great matchup to watch. So I think we're going to get Dallas-Boston whenever Luka does go. And I think, when LeBron returns, it'll probably be against the Sixers, and I think there's a good chance it'll be this year. So yeah, nothing crazy. I just thought I'd go into that and see what you guys thought, who you think might go, if you think I'm off on a few teams, if you think I'm sleeping on a team. Obviously after trades, things are going to change, but I've kind of taken trades into account. So I'm visualizing a different 76ers team. I'm also visualizing a much better Dallas Mavericks team that just looks almost unstoppable. Luka, skinny Luka, that's not going to just be a joke. That's going to explain why suddenly this guy, after all these years, he's suddenly going to play defense. He's suddenly going to have finesse, and he's basically going to feel like going to get the Jokic treatment this year, whether he wins or not. I think he's going to get his MVP. I think they're just definitely setting that up. Everyone else got one. I think it just makes sense. So yeah, hopefully you can take some use out of this, and I'll be going into football pretty soon. As I said, baseball is one I cover in my Discord and stuff of that nature on my membership site. I'll be doing more, but it's mostly just metrics. And if you guys want anything in particular, let me know. I have more time to do videos. So people before were suggesting, can you cover like the 2002 playoffs or the 2020 playoffs? I'll cover whatever specific games. At the end of the day, we know it's rigged. That's why I don't really go into old examples. But I got some time, so I don't mind doing that. I can also go into, again, some futures, which essentially this is. It's my MVP pick, Luka. My teams right now, I'd say Philly, Los Angeles, and then teams that obviously I just don't think are going to return to the finals this year. So take care, everybody. Happy earnings.